welcoming you to Montgomery Week in Review. Scientists rarely leave their laboratories in order to mix in the world of politics and current events in Washington. But this year is different, as many are planning to join together to demonstrate support of science in April. Dr. Bruce Fowler is here to tell us all about what we should be expecting. Montgomery History is planning a new exhibit at the Bell House in April. It's called Inside Out, Upside Down. Elizabeth Lay, the curator, will tell us about the intriguing title and details of this exhibit. Ronald McDonald House Charities of Washington, D.C. is part of a nationwide movement that works to ease the hardship of children as they are going through terrible illnesses. Has two houses that it operates in this area. Tim Mooney, Director of Philanthropy for the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Washington, D.C., is here to explain. Montgomery Community Media is bringing in the kids for spring break in April with a special class called the YouTube U. And April will feature yet again our annual A Day in the Life. That will be on April 20th, inviting everybody in the community to participate. Tony Spearman-Leach will report on these activities as well as telling us about some major awards that we received here at this station. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Bruce, science.
Science.
I didn't know science. Science is not a word that you're hearing much of in Washington right now, except with, I think, major cuts. Didn't I see they want to basically destroy almost all of science in the federal budget?
They're going to put a big dent in it. Some agencies more than others. EPA is looking at about a 50% cut, and NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the people who do climate monitoring, are looking at a 50% cut.
And run the hurricane watch where those. Yeah. What's the cause of this?
Well, I guess we'd have to say it's politically motivated. But to get back to the scientists, on April 22nd,
right,
the major scientific societies, American Association for the Advancement of Science,
right,
AAAS, and I'm proud to say our Toxicology Society, Society of Toxicology, among others, are hosting a organized march in Washington to highlight the importance of science to the country and to the world.
Well, let me get it back, because I wanted to get to that April 22nd.
Okay.
Incredibly important. But I want to, I guess, Bruce, what's at issue here, or it seems to be the issue, is what should the federal government's role in scientific research be? And so, and that's what we're talking about, federal cuts. And I take it, it's, my sense is in this current climate in Washington is the private sector can take care of all of this. But what is the role? What does the federal funding of scientific research do that could not be done by the private sector?
It does two main things. First, only the federal government has the largessa, has the funds to fund the scientific enterprise that's grown up in the United States that makes it the envy of the world. Secondly, its credibility of that. Some grants given from scientific agencies to, say, university investigators are carefully peer-reviewed, and maybe only 1 in 10 of them is successful. So this is tough.
Before I know a lot of people have questions, but just one quick question I want to throw in there is isn't it also? I mean, I hear it's the pure research versus applied research. A little bit that the basic research that a lot of that's not cost effective for the private sector to do this is a lot of what government research does, the background research that then others can use. But without that, we wouldn't have the kind of basic research. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate, yes. The best way to look at this is I'll go back to Benjamin Franklin, a notable scientist.
I remember him well.
Yeah. He was watching the first hot air balloon rides when he was in France, and the person standing next to him said, "Well, yes, but what good is it?" And Franklin looked at him and said, "What good is a newborn baby? Okay, except by the potential." And that's what this is about.
Interesting.
Let me ask you, you brought up NOAA earlier, the Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And I find it interesting that most people forget that NOAA, outside of predicting our weather, also predicts it for our Defense Department. And if I remember, the president just gave all of this proposed increased funding for defense, but planes can't fly unless they can actually get through the weather. So isn't there a correlation of science has failed to tell its contributions to other fields?
This goes back to where Don opened, that scientists as a group are reluctant, have been reluctant, up at least to this point, to step out of the laboratory, with a few notable exceptions, and to make their case and why what we're doing is important. To put it in context, if you go back to NOAA and look at the NOAA satellite image of the Earth, okay, we've all seen that, the big blue marble. We're on a spaceship. This is the only home for about 7.5 billion people right now, and a number of other species as well. So if we mess this up, we don't have any place to go. That's one. Secondly, it has to do with thinking smart about how we use our resources. Okay.
How did you or the organizations involved mobilize? A scientist would not be my first guess as somebody who's involved in the March on Washington.
About a minute left.
Okay. As we've said, scientists as a group tend to be very parochial in their interests. They tend to work on very small areas of science. But the German word for science is Wissenschaft, which is knowledge seeking. They're all Wissenschafters in German, under the skin. So whether they're a molecular biologist at NIH or a NOAA scientist or someone doing applied research in Gaithersburg, let's say, at NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, or the Department of Energy Lab in Germantown, they're all scientists and they're all interested in learning. And if you cut off that ability to learn by restricting the resources, then we all lose, frankly.
Is there a place for all of us, April 22nd, the last word? Can we all be marching with the scientists?
Yes. The two websites to check out are www.aas.org. That's, I think, one of the main organizers. Society of Toxicology, www.toxicology.org.
Okay.
As another.
Okay. And learn all about it, but there's a scientist in all of us, isn't there?
You betcha.
All right. Wissenschaft. I like that.
Wissenschafter.
Wissenschaftler. I want to be a Wissenschaftler with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Join the other 20,000 Wissenschafters.
Yes.
Liz, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell Montgomery History, what a wonderful organization. Tell us briefly about what you do, remind us of what you do, and then let's talk a little bit about this upcoming exhibit.
Well, we collect, preserve, and interpret the stories and the objects from Montgomery County's history. So we have a number of ways that we do that, and one of them is the Bell Dawson House and our historic library that is a great resource for primary resource for families and all kinds of information throughout the county.
So we have this upcoming that you're the creator, you're the curator for. Yeah, creator, curator, you're Wissenschaftler for this.
Always having fun with this.
Yeah.
Tell us about this exhibit.
It's called Inside Out, Upside Down, Furniture from a Different Point of View. And what we're doing is kind of reimagining the whole historic house museum idea. And we are going to take the furniture and pull it away from the wall, take out the drawers, and that's where that sort of the human stories begin, is the inside of those objects. You get to see the maker's marks, you get to see the construction, you see just how a piece was used.
And not just when you pull out that drawer, all the junk that we're putting in the drawer.
Right. We've cleaned that out.
So let me ask you.
Yes.
This is going to be a really neat exhibition. It reminds me of Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
What can I expect when I go in? I mean, am I going to be able to touch the furniture? Are you going to tell me how I can do this in my own home?
A couple of things. We're going to we'll have the objects away from the wall so that you can walk around it in 3-dimension. We'll have some of the drawers taken out so that you'll be able to look inside. Things are going to be lifted off the floor so you'll have an easier view. But we're also going to have a very large area where you can touch. And for an example, there's a rough piece of wood with a thin piece of veneer. You'll be able to see how both work. And then stringing, which is that thin line that you see on Federal furniture.
Sure.
You'll see how that's an inset, and then you can touch how it's smoothed on the top. So there'll be a lot of things that you can hold in your hands and see things in a new way, and the tools that took to create those objects.
And you'll have a workshop where we can go out and make some federal.
You know, we're going to have
Furniture.
makers there from time to time,
I
and in
think
the
Tony
opening
wants to
day.
be.
Yes.
So I'm excited
His
about this.
apron
Yeah.
We've got
on and-
historic tools. We're going to have some demonstration days, and this is very much a partnership with the Society of Period Furniture Makers, and they're providing information and tools that support our tools from our historic collection, and it's going to not just interesting to makers, but it's a way to develop a discerning eye for an antique person.
Take us to what this means for Montgomery County, and you know what story are you able to tell through this? Because that's really what a museum is all about. and what
Right.
Curator's doing.
Right. Well, some of these objects are original to the house. We have a tall case clock that was made in Rockville, which is very unusual. On the inside of the door, you'll be able to see all the
Well,
clock.
you're saying it's unusual that something actually works. That was
No.
from Rockville? Nothing but
But
the
it
city
was
council, county council, or anything like that, are
Well,
you?
this was built in roughly 1806, and at that time, Montgomery County was a very rural area, and a tall case clock is a very high-style object, so it wasn't something that was common in Rockville. So to have a clock that was made of that quality in Rockville. And on the inside of the door, you'll see the local clockmakers every time over those periods of years, 1824, 1836, their signature and the date next to it when they repaired that clock.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's those, that's where the human starts, I think, is the inside of these objects.
You know, when can I come visit the House Museum? Because I think that's something that most people don't realize. When can I, as the public, come and join you?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, noon to 4. And we have some special events that take place where we really focus on certain aspects of the exhibit.
We've got 45 seconds left. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what we can expect with Montgomery History in the months coming up? What are some of the other things you're pretty excited about?
Some of the programs we're having is a day with the curator, so that in the morning,
So we can spend the day with you.
you can spend the day with me and a furniture maker, so you get it from both sides. I will talk about style changes and how those things developed and the history of furniture, where you can tell where it's from. And then in the afternoon, we'll have a nice lunch, and in the afternoon, furniture maker will walk through the exhibit with us and really call out those tool marks and construction and how those things are made.
It's not going to be 200-year-old food. Is it?
No.
Well, the scientists will help us.
Determine whether it's safe.
right.
Liz, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very interesting. I hope everybody comes out. We'll be right back. We need to take a break right now, and we'll see you on the other side. And we're back. Tim, welcome back.
Thanks, Don.
You know, when I think of Ronald McDonald House Charities, I think of just decades of amazing work for children and their families that make it possible that children can get health care and their families can be close by. And tell us about it. It's got to be rewarding as can be.
It is extraordinarily rewarding, but the origin story is fascinating.
Tell us about it.
Fred Hill, Philadelphia Eagle, NFL football player, his daughter became seriously ill with cancer, and Dr. Audrey up in Philadelphia, in essence, cured his daughter. And he and his wife were doing what every parent did at that point in time, sitting in chairs, eating out of vending machines. He went to Dr. Audrey and said, "How can I help? What can I do?" And what they did was start. She said she needed a house, so he started raising money through the Shamrock Shake program. Local owner-operators all pitched in, and they built the first Ronald McDonald House.
That's great. And why after Ronald McDonald? Because again, we think of Ronald McDonald as pitching burgers for McDonald's, but yet Ronald McDonald has done, has this other persona, which is such an importance.
Well, Don, I think the real heroes here in this story are the local owner-operators, the men and women who own these franchises,
Right.
who have taken on Ronald McDonald House Charities as their charity of choice. Because of their generosity, their kindness, we have Ronald McDonald House's chapters throughout the country that are being supported by these amazing men and women who donate their time, energy, and money to make sure the charity survives.
So give me a typical franchisee. who is invested, supporting with the philanthropy and with this. How are they involved? Are they looking at it from a percentage of their sales, or looking at it from everyone gives what they can?
Well, hopefully everyone's been at a McDonald's. There are donation boxes.
Right.
Those donations go directly to the charity.
Right.
They do promotions like the Shamrock Shake. We just ended a week's promotion for the Shamrock Shake program, and the local owner-operators voted to have a second week added on to that to support the charity. They are amazingly kind and generous people who have been successful and want to share that success with the communities they're in.
Well, let me ask you, I have a really big question. I think most of us feel this way. How can we personally get involved? What can we do to help the Ronald McDonald House here in the greater Washington, D.C. area?
My friend, it's a great question. We're always on the lookout for champions. A champion can be people who come in and volunteer to cook meals for our families, clean the houses, landscape the grounds. Any sort of volunteer opportunity like that is one of our dearest and most important champions. People who have third-party events for us are also our champions. They'll throw a golf tournament or an event like that, and they then share the proceeds with the charity. And finally, we have amazingly generous people who put quarters and dollars in those donation boxes or write checks to support the work that we're doing for children and families.
And how do I find out to get involved? Where do I go to?
It's very easy. rmhcdc.org is our website, and they will always be able to find me.
Okay.
Now, it's more than just the houses, correct?
Right. We have 3 core programs. We have the Ronald McDonald houses themselves. We have family rooms that are located on wards at Children's National Medical Center. We have a new one that opened in 2016 at Fairfax and Nova Hospital for Children.
Right.
And we have a second one that's opening as well at Children's. And we also have our care mobiles.
I'd like to follow up on those care mobiles. You mentioned that earlier that they go into various areas of Washington, D.C. to provide care to people who maybe can't get away. What sorts of things do they offer people? What do they do with them?
Well, there are 2 units. One is just hitting the road now, but the other vehicle that has been in the community for over 20 years provides primary health care services to underserved communities, wards 5, 6, 7, and 8 in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And it's no-cost care. We try to hook these children and families up with an insurance provider, but no one is charged for their care. And they go to the same location each day of the week.
We've got about 40 seconds left. How do you want us to leave this segment thinking about Ronald McDonald House Charities?
I just think it's important to understand that the charity is, our whole concept is to keep families close, whether it's at the most challenging times in their lives, where there's an accident, a premature birth, or a tragic diagnosis, or we try to keep families close, children in particular, close to healthcare and access to healthcare. If you can remember that, I'd be most grateful.
Keep up the good work, and I wish you the best, and please let everybody know within the McDonald's family that how important this is. And
I certainly will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim. Well,
Yes,
welcome.
Don.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm feeling great. I think these Telly Awards, I want to start off with that. I want you to share some, Tony, this news, because this is fantastic. Great recognition.
That's right. Montgomery Community Media is standing up in pride. I want to thank all of the volunteers out there that have helped make this possible. We've won 4 Telly Awards. It's interesting because this is the first time as an organization that we've entered the Telly Awards, and we walked away with 4 out of the gate.
And who presents the Telly Awards?
The Telly Awards are done by the Telly Award Association. They receive over 13,000 entries a year. It's the major broadcast television, broadcast cable agencies that create content. So they're all content creating organizations. And they're judged by over 500 previous winners in multiple categories. I am pleased to say that we share a Telly Award
Yes, we do.
with Montgomery History in the creation of An Evening with Stephen Cookie Roberts.
Right.
So this is an example of 2 volunteer-based organizations coming together to create content that's relevant to the community that we live in, Montgomery County.
Well, you have to be particularly proud of that.
Absolutely.
Because I know how crazed, I think, is a proper word for it, in your promoting and excitement about that program. In particular, you are so enthusiastic about everything that goes on here. But I think on that one, you really had hit it about on how important and special that particular program was.
Absolutely, and you will be seeing future collaborations between Montgomery Community Media and Montgomery History. We're very pleased with that. And we also won for Honor and Gratitude, which was our honoring of Vietnam veterans, because you remember we had not honored Vietnam veterans here in Montgomery County.
Right.
And we also won for the Josiah Henson Leadership Conference, which is a companion historical association.
Another one you've been going crazy. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're busy.
And then finally, we won for Congratulations, You're In, to help the high school students in Montgomery County learn how to apply to college and be successful, especially those with working parents and students who just really don't have time to get the counseling in school that they should get. But that's what we do.
Enough with the awards, because then we've got other things
Oh,
we need
yes.
to talk about. But congratulations. Let's talk first, before we get to this spring break thing. I want a day in the life, because I think that is such an important project, and it needs to spread out to every corner of this county. And I know it gets further and further out there, but tell us about what this is and why this is so important.
On April 20th, we invite everyone that is either doing business in Montgomery County or lives in Montgomery County to contribute photographs that tell their stories. We are looking for your stories. So you simply send them in to pics at MyMC Media, and what will happen is we will aggregate those photos online, on air, and you will be able to tell your story in one day. This is just like the Day in the Life series. This is our story. So if you're a scientist, all the scientists out there, we want their pictures. The museum, we definitely want all of your photos. And for all of those families at the Ronald McDonald House of Greater Washington, please, this is your chance to tell your story from school, from work, from home. This is our 5th year doing it. We had over 1,300 photos last year. We go from 12:01 a.m. to 11:59:59. And it is probably one of the most exciting things that we do here in this county. And you're right, I cheer for it.
Yeah. From a historical perspective, what would you like to see from the Montgomery history?
Well, if I remember correctly, you have how many artifacts?
About 10,000.
And so you could take photographs of some of those artifacts that
yes.
people don't see
Yes.
and send them to us. And, you know, if I look over here at my scientists, I know that you have a bunch of toxicologists.
Yes.
People don't even see what toxicologists do.
Well, he's a Rotarian.
Absolutely.
He has so many different fingers around and different pies. So I mean, it really gets the ripple effect out there to get as many people in this involved.
And here, my friend, I think you have one of the best stories, families and community and supporters. And if we could get Ronald McDonald House of the Greater Washington area to send in those photos, we would be honored.
We'll do so.
We would be deeply honored.
Thank you so much.
Spring break.
Spring break. We are
You got
doing
30 seconds
We're
left.
doing something really unusual this year. Go to mymcmedia.org and get kids involved and YouTube You. It's middle schoolers, 7th grade and up, and you have a chance to create your own viral video using your mobile device. Kids do this all day, but they don't know how to do it professionally, and we are offering scholarships
Wow.
that are donated by Rotarians to make this possible. And so we are giving away scholarships donated by the Rotary chapters, and we want to thank all of you. Please go to mymcmedia.org and register.
And that's the last word. I'm hoping we'll get to some older folks, not just the teens, doing these sorts of things in the future. Thank you very much, Tony. Thank all of you for joining me today on this show. And thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, your host, inviting you to return next week at this very same time.